myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that.
Hi and welcome to a special edition of NUFC Matters. It's Steve Wraith's interview section where I interview different people from different backgrounds, and I've got Disco Dave today. Disco Dave, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, mate. Yeah, loving life as always. Absolutely.
Fantastic, mate. Great stuff. Thanks to Stu Armstrong for putting me in touch with you, and obviously we'll come to Stu's connection with you in a little bit. But we've got you on because of your fighting background. Obviously, I come from an unlicensed fighting background, but now in the pro game. But you've got a bit of a history in the fight game as well. So when did you first pick up gloves in anger? When did you first get into fighting and training?
Yeah, so it was 2002. I was 15 years old, and unfortunately, with everything that goes on, I kind of got mugged on the outside world by three lads, and they took pretty much everything that I owned at that moment in time. And I said to my parents that I want to start defending myself from here on out. And lucky me, the place that I actually worked at the time, there was a British and European kickboxing champion that had his own dojo and his own martial arts school. And I got in talks with him, and pretty much that was in 2002. He said, come down one Saturday and let's have a little see. Let's see what you are. And 20 years later, here I am doing all kinds of different disciplines in boxing, K1, BKB, and 20 years later, and I'm still here.
What was it like getting into the ring for the first time and getting gloves on?
I mean, I originally started freestyle kickboxing, which was all tournament based fighting on the tatami mats. And if people are used to what tatami mats are, everybody's seen the Karate Kid, and everybody knows the system of how them tournaments work. I used to do that kind of fighting, and I did that for about 3-4 years. And from there, I wanted to progress better, and I did the exact same tatami mats, but continuous fighting. So no points fighting, continuous fighting on the tatami mats. And if you win your first fight, you end up moving up the next round. You win that fight, and so on and so on, until obviously you can go for the gold on that day. And sometimes you'd turn up to a tournament and there'd be 32 guys in your category, which means you'd have to have at least 4 or 5 fights on that day to get the gold. And as you can see with all my achievements behind me, I got so far in that game, and I kind of felt like I wanted to move up a level again. And I stepped into the ring, the cage. My cage was the first time I ever stepped in, and that was 20th of March 2011 against a guy called Joe Roberts. It was 7-0 in Thai boxing, and they just basically came up to me 2 weeks before the fight and said, look, we need a really durable guy to step in and give this guy a fight. And hey, they came and see me, and that's when my pro game kind of started from there. And I left the amateur kickboxing tournament behind after like 10 years of fighting. And then 2011 till now, I've just been in the ring, the cage, and now obviously in the most brutal contact sport going.
That tournament stuff that you did, I mean, you say you win your fight, then you have another one. You win your fight, you have another one on the day. How many rounds? What distance do you go in those rounds?
Because it's freestyle kickboxing, it was all about how much energy you had, how much skill that you had. So basically, it was one round of 2 minutes, and that fight you'd both squared off, and you'd fight for 1 2-minute round. That's it. So it's basically how much you can go in the full 2 minutes. And I know 2 minutes doesn't sound long, But when you're pushing your body to the max, slinging kicks, slinging punches, slinging knees, 2 minutes is a very long time when you're constantly going at 100 miles an hour. And the judges would give the decision, and if you won, you moved up to the next round. Then you had to wait until certain fighters was eliminated, and then when it came to your time fighting in round 2, then you go for the same round 2, and then you go to the quarterfinals, then you go to the semi-finals, and then the finals. Then they'd always add a minute on, so then the finals would be 1 round at 3 minutes, and then you had the bigger tournaments, which was exactly the same process, but 2-minute rounds per fight. And that was they were big tests, because not only are you going to be having 4 or 5 fights potentially in one day, but each fight is 2-minute rounds of freestyle kickboxing. All I can say is it's a big stamina test, all about stamina test. And you know, luckily that's one thing that I've always carried through my whole journey. Always worked on stamina, because stamina is key. Once you get tired in these fights, you're pretty much done.
So obviously kickboxing is one thing, but you got a big history in K1, and I mean, some people tuning in probably won't even remember K1. It was a bit of a predecessor to MMA. It was around about that time that Kimbo Slice was probably a big internet sensation. Yeah. Anyone who doesn't remember Kimbo Slice, Google him, because he was a fascinating guy. It became a bit of a farce towards the end, sadly, but in those early days, he was basically just taking anybody on in people's backyards. But K1, I'm not a fan of MMA. I loved K1 because it was anything goes, and for me, I found that fascinating. I'm a big boxing fan, and I'm afraid I am a stuck in the rut boxing fan. Maybe that's something down to my age. But K1 did interest me, and I found those fights fascinating. You took part in it. What was it like to take part in K1?
You know, it's funny because back in 2011, when I accepted the fight, I had zero clue what a K1 fight was. I actually stepped out into the cage, and my first fight was at Batley Frontier. Yeah. And I stepped into the cage in World Championship England pants. I didn't even know you had to wear shorts. That's how clueless I was with the full contact K1 game. And you know what? I stepped in that cage, absolutely babbing my load. And the guy came out, and the first thing he did, he went straight over to his corner, and he did the full-on splits like Jean-Claude Van Damme did in The Kickboxer on 2 chairs. Mind games. And did he get there? Oh, absolutely he got there. And the first strike that he did, he threw a leg kick. And this leg kick pounded. But the worst bit is I was strong stanced in my left stance. So I had all my weight on my front foot. And I got a dead leg on the very first kick. And from there, it was like a light bulb went off in the brain. It's like, you're not in no freestyle kickboxing tournament now. You know, you're in a fight. You're in a full contact fight. And I can't deny the fact that I didn't know what knees were. I hadn't trained. It were 2 weeks before. I'd always been fit. So I'm always ready to fight. But my technique, it wasn't there, so I had to result back to the freestyle. And you know what? As strong and as good as this kid was, he didn't have the heart that I had that day. And yes, I wasn't as skillful as that guy, but my heart pushed me through, and it went straight back to what I spoke about a couple of minutes ago. His energy levels zapped. And once his energy levels got zapped, I just went in for, I can't even say it kill, because back then, there was some windmills going on, you know, in the cage. But you know what? I think from that, not only did I take something like without me knowing what it was, I got slung straight into the deep end. But that was my own doing, and I loved it from there. I thought I really want to pursue the K1 game, and I really want to see where I can go with this. And yeah, I took off from there, and it was the best thing that I ever did. 100%.
How far did you go in the K1 then?
So in the K1, as you can see, that belt behind me, my other belt is in the is in my Party Rock gym, and as a middleweight, I ended up becoming the first undisputed middleweight that took the championship, not only in Yorkshire down here by beating a guy called Gary Bell for the title, but then I also fought one of my nemesis, which was Nathan Boyce, for the third fight, and we both put our titles on the line. And he was based up in Northeast, and I fought, and we took both titles on. I defended mine, and I ended up finishing it in 53 seconds of the very first round. And from there, I was the champ. Not only did I defend my belt, I had the belt, I defended it, and I didn't really see much more I had to achieve in the pro game of K1 from that, because this Nathan Boyce, he was legit. He hadn't been beat. I was his one and only loss that he's ever taken. And you know, there's no better feeling when you take someone's off. There's no better feeling, you know. And from there, I kind of retired from K1 game then, so that I could look after my son. And I've never been back since the 29th of October 2016 was my last K1. So I had a good five years run at K1. And, you know, my record ain't the best. My record ain't the best at all, because I like to think that I do what quite a lot of fighters don't do. I like to fight the best that's out there. To be the best, you have to fight the best. That's my motto. None of some of these fighters today that all they're interested in is building a record platform and just, win. No. I'm not interested in that. You know, it's my wins and my losses in K1 works out at 5 wins in K1, 4 losses in K1, 2 no contests, and 0 draws. So when you look at my record in K1, it's pretty much balanced out, you know. But all these fights, they're all against top high level guys, aka the reason why I've got the belts here, you know, because I had to work my way up, and I did work my way up. I fought some very legit guys out there, and out of the fights that I had in the K1, I ended up taking 4 guys 0s from them, and the minimum guy was 3-0. The highest guy was 7-0. So you know, these guys were legit.
What was your record in kickboxing?
In kickboxing, I've never ever had one full contact kickboxing bout like I have K1.
Yeah,
my kickboxing is all through the tatami amateur days, which is tournament building. How many tournaments have I had? Oh, honestly, hundreds. I've been up and down the country. I fought in Karlsruhe in Germany. I fought in Andalusia in Spain. And then obviously I was supposed to fight in Orlando, Florida in America for the amateur world kickboxing. But I ended up breaking my foot like a month before. So when you look at the background of, I've been about, you know, but a lot of people don't kind of know that about me. And then I went over to the K1 game. So kickboxing, as I have 0 fights, as in full contact in the ring.
Yeah.
All K1, all my kickboxing is all from the freestyle tatami mat. So,
did you find it difficult to make money? I mean, was the money good in K1, or did you rely heavily on sponsorship? Was it ticket deals? How does it work?
I'm 35 years old. I've been in martial arts now for 20 years. I've never had one sponsor. A lot of my fights, I've always said to promoters, if you can give me the best of the best that's kind of out there and let me progress on mine, I've fought for free for a lot of years. Money's not an issue to me. I'm passionate about the sport. I love the sport. Money's nothing. You know, I work full time. I care full time. I can get any money that I need, however I want it. The fighting isn't about the financial to me. It's about progressing and seeing how I am as a human being and testing my skills and testing. I would like to think that I'm not the best, but I'm one of the best out there. And it was all about building a name, all about building a name. And you know what? As I sit here now, 20 years later, I think I've fulfilled that. I really do. You know, so the financial money side, it were never there.
Never about that. Yeah, it sounds like it's a passion, and obviously, you know, from your early influences and getting involved in, in the kickboxing, then going to K1, you can see the progression. Talk about the training a little bit. You know, obviously you're clearly dedicated. Do you take the training very seriously? Because you get some people who are involved in martial arts and boxing who, you know, when they're not fighting, we've seen it with big names like Ricky Hatton, for example, who used to pile the pounds on. Do you tend to walk around at fighting weight? Well, you know, what do you do?
I did. I always used to walk around at fighting weight. I was at an age where I didn't really have to worry too much about my eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I was eating good and training hard, I always stayed on training weight. Sometimes it was about progressing with myself. I fought one guy. He was 3-0 in K1. He had 10 kgs on me, and I let it by. I let it by because I disliked this man. So, you know, there were none of this weight cutting and all that. It was like, physically, let's just get in there and do the business. But for me, I've always walked at fight weight only until I stepped into bare knuckle, because I'd been out of the fight game for like 3 years looking after my son. And I can't deny that. I put some weight on. Clearly, I'd stuck fighting and everything else. Always trained, but I kind of did that. And then one thing I learned of the difference between losing weight and cutting weight. And a lot of people get confused, the difference. And, you know, I like to think that now I cut my weight down within the last month or so of fighting, rather than going month for month of you know, like really sticking to a strict diet, because I've kind of been there, done that, you know. And now losing weight, it's all about days, weeks and months. Cutting weight, it's all about days and hours. You know, so if you can keep yourself at a nice balance, like I am now, I've got a fight coming up in a month, and I'm not on weight yet. I'm not on fight weight yet, but I know exactly what I need to do to get my fight weight to where it needs to be. So in the meantime, if I can carry on training a little bit heavier than my actual fighting weight, imagine how a lot faster I'll be once I've lost my weight and got myself back down to fighting weight. If I can cope with myself at this weight, it's all about the mental game as well. You know, it's all about preparing your body. Bare knuckle, train with 14, 16 ounce gloves on all the time. Get them hands really heavy. When them gloves come off, your hands are lightning fast. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot behind it that you can take a lot of knowledge from it. If people don't have the knowledge, they don't have the knowledge. But I've been in the game 20 years, so I've got the knowledge of what I need to do and what's happened, you know, with the weight side. And as the training, I go by my name. I'm a solo party rocker. I train myself. I've trained myself for the last 5-6 years now.
Are you training in your garage now?
Training my garage. Since lockdown, I had to do something as a project. And I thought, you know what? I've got some spare cash. Let me transform my double garage into a party rock gym. My God, it is a party rock gym. And, you know, I've got everything in there that I need to train myself. And it's absolutely amazing. One of the best things I ever did. Because one thing that I did notice, that when I came away from my last gym, which was back in 2016, is it's very hard to rely on, you know, people. You know, a lot of people letting people down, and I was getting so frustrated of wanting people to help me out or train with me, and always last minute it'd end up flopping. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm going to go back to what I used to do back in the kickboxing days. I'm going to train myself. I've got the knowledge. I've got the mentality. I know exactly what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I did my little project. I spent half a year building up the gym. And honestly, sometimes I just like to stay in the gym just because it's better than my house. I'm not even lying. She's like, oh, where's he gone again? I mean, Jim just sat there on telly watching a bit of UFC whilst eating bag. You know, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that I did it, 100%.
Well, your nickname's Disco Dave, and I mean, your garage of your house, which you've turned into a gym, it's covered in disco lights and disco balls. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. It is a party rock gym through the day, and it is discotheque rock at night. There's that many lasers and strobes and everything else in there. It's not only a training space, but it's also like a mini nightclub as well. It's absolutely amazing if you want to have like a circuit training, which I do a lot of the time. Have a really blast out at circuit training without lights on. It's a really cool atmosphere. But there's another story of why I did the lights as well. I did that for my son because...
Yeah, let's talk about Sebastian. I mean, obviously, from your perspective, you mentioned him earlier and said that you did, you had to look after your son. Tell us, as much as you want to about the situation with Sebastian.
My story's out there. Back in 2014, Sebastian was 100% healthy. Cut a long story short with that, basically the hospital didn't do what they were supposed to do at the time, and it got put down as negligent towards my son, which caused my boy to have severe brain damage for the rest of his life. And unfortunately, his life is a lot shorter than what ours is going to be, which puts in perspective of the fight game of, I want to start spending time with my boy now for however long I've got him and everything else. Everything that came with that was all the problems that my boy carries. Every problem, that he doesn't speak, he doesn't walk, he doesn't feed. So there's a lot of full-time care that goes into my boy. And it got to a stage in January 2020, just before the pandemic hit, that I was unable to carry on with my full-time job because I was forever being at work, getting phone calls, we're going to hospital, he's had an episode, and then come out of work. And as you can tell from a company started getting a little bit frustrated with this. So I am now joint carer with his mum to look after Sebastian. And yeah, he's got a lot of problems. And the one reason why I've got the gym all discothequed out as well, because it's also his sensory room. So basically my son has epilepsy as well. But little did I know, I thought epilepsy was all about flashing lights, and well, how wrong was I? My son's epilepsy can get sent off by touch and touch alone. But flashing lights, nothing. Loves it. I thought, oh, that's fantastic. Flashing lights that don't set my son's epilepsy off, I'm putting some serious disco lights in that gym. And you know what? He sits in that gym, we put his Disney music on, I wrap lights around the punch bag and I put all the big disco lights on, and you've never seen a 7-year-old boy so mesmerized in his life. It's honestly, he's so mesmerized with what's going on. And, that's also one of the, I mean, there's a little bit there of, for me as well, when he's in bed and I decide I want to go to the gym and stick some lights on, I am Disco Dave at the end of the day. But it was for him to also give him the sensory sensation. And yeah, he absolutely loves it. And yeah, I retired from K1 back in 2016 when my boy started obviously getting bigger. We were 3 years old at the time. And I've spent 2.5 years with him, looking after him, and it was amazing. But I'm not going to lie that I got put in a very dark place. I went in a very, very dark place that I'm not ashamed to admit that I had to get professional therapy help because I was really struggling with everything that my boy brings to the table. And, you know, I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I went down a route of getting help, serious help. And you know what? It was the best thing that I ever did. But one thing that helped me was fighting. And I didn't know this because I'd stepped away from the fight game for the first time in 17 years. So I said to myself, I don't think I've got the time to go back to the Pro K1 game because it involves every limb and there's a lot that goes behind it. But if bare knuckle ever goes legal, I'm going to take it up. And I got my shot. Back in 2018 to enter bare knuckle. And people ask me, why do you want to do that? And for me, it's different. For me, it's not only wanting to test my own strengths as a fighter, but my boy he'll be on his 8th operation next, and he's only 7 years old. And when we're talking operations, we're talking big operations. A few of them serious life ones as well. In his ear, he's sat downstairs, he's smiling, he's happy. And I sit there and I go, man, he's a true warrior, is this kid. If I could take anything, I wish I could help him out more, but I can't. But if I can take some punishment, because he goes through swinging every day, does my boy. And if I can get in a place where even if I take a bare knuckle to the chin and it goddamn hurts, it's nowhere near as much as what my boy has to go through. And that is one of the reasons why I said I'm going to go into the bare knuckle game, because I think it's really going to help my mental state. And it's also going to feel like I'm doing something for my son as well. As silly as that may seem, it really helps me. And that's obviously where the bare knuckle game came in.
So obviously the bare knuckle stuff is a completely different, you know, level to K1. It's a different discipline, and I've been to them. I've got to be honest, I find it exciting. It's where boxing, as I know it, originated from. So, you know, who approached you and how did you get into that?
So it was, I mean, obviously, I don't want to talk too much about their promotion, but I got offered my shot from a guy called Andrew Bakewell back in 2018, and it was to fight a lad called Ashley Gibson. And they basically said to me, you know, what will get you in the ring? And I said, give me the champ. That's all I'm interested in. Give me the champ. I've done all my business of the working my way up, and give me the top dog in my weight category. And the guy at the time was a guy called Ashley Gibson. As soon as we touched gloves, I thought I was in a freestyle kickboxing fight again. That mentality, that discipline. 20 seconds, I got put on my ass. My nose got popped, broke, and it was split. And I stood up whilst referees counting me. And again, light bulb, top of head. And it was like, you're in a dog fight here. This isn't a fight, this is a dog fight. And again, my mental state, it switched up. And I had to realize I had to adjust from my kickboxing game into the bare knuckle game. And I thought, I'm a skilled boxer. I know I am. So work your skill on this guy. And so I did. And I ended up TKOing him in the second round due to a doctor stoppage because I cut all of his eyebrow wide open and the blood was going in his eye. And obviously nothing can do. I've had 2 fights since then. 1 win, 1 loss. And my loss was September 2019. Only lasted 30 seconds. Unfortunately, I got my whole left-hand side of my face broke, like clean broke, 1 shot. And whilst I'm in recovery, and I'm recovering, Stu Armstrong, I've started getting in touch and having a nice conversation with me, and asked me if I'd be interested in obviously joining the team of UBKB. And I had no hesitation to think about anything with that. And you know what? It was one of the best things I've ever done, because not only have I not only fought for UBKB yet, and I haven't because of obviously the pandemic, but I've never had in all my 20 years of fighting, and especially even more since 2014, since my son arrived, I've never had a company and people treat me as one of their own and do as much as they can to even just raise as much money as they can for my son to get him some nice things. Because as you well know, anything that my son needs in life, because it's disabled, is a lot of notes that go on the end.
Yeah.
So they've done so much for me and my son. And you know what? It's like I'm so desperate to fight for them. I really am, to put a show on. Hate me, love me, win, lose or draw. Doesn't matter to me. I'm there to fight the best that I can fight. And my God, in 1 month's time, I'm going to give them one hell of a show. 1000%.
Stu did a book, didn't he? I believe as well, which he gave a percentage away to your son, I think.
He did, yeah. So basically, he wrote this book called Super Sebastian, and obviously there's a kid in a wheelchair in front with a cape on. Looks absolutely amazing, and he wanted me to basically take all the proceeds from that book, that whatever gets bought, it goes to me, so that we can put it towards my son. Honestly, it's like, who does these things? That's absolutely amazing. And for someone who hasn't even met my son yet, no one's seen Sebastian, and to be able to do stuff like this tells me what kind of people I'm with, what kind of promoters I'm with. And fucking hell, yeah, I'm happy I signed that contract. I'm just gutted that I've not been able to fight for them yet. But my time's coming.
Where does the nickname Disco Dave come from then?
2010. I knew you were going to ask this question. It's like I've already got it there. 2010, Stag Do, Magaluf. I was in Big Club Magaluf. I was in the big bar, dancing away. I'm not going to lie, I can dance. And some guy went, "What's his name?" And they went, "Oh, it's Dave." And they went, "Nah, he's Disco Dave from now on." I think he was a little bit drunk at the time as well when he said it. And you know what? Ever since that, Disco Dave, I just went, I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with that. And then when my Pro K1 game hit properly in 2012, I said, you know what? I don't want to be this typical fighter, staring and acting all tough. We all know we're fighters. We all know we can fight. You don't have to act a dickhead with it, So I said, I'm going to do what no one's done. I'm going to introduce what I introduced on the dance floor, and I'm going to bring it to the ring. And they went, "What do you mean?" I went, "My nickname now is going to be Disco Dancing Dave, and I'm going to do something that no one does." And you know what? It really helps me. It's almost like it's my warm-up. Me coming out to that ring, everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be tired before he even gets..." Nah, that's a really good warm-up for me. It gets me a nice sweat on. I get to put LED lights on, and I get to have a boogie. And then I get to fight at the end of that. What is not to love about that? And, 2012 is where the disco, I think, as the years have progressed, a few more additions to the lights and the attire has come out, as confidence has grown with it and everything else. Now I'm just like a goddamn Christmas tree. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So that's where Disco Dave came from. And everybody, friends, family, anybody. I'm not Dave no more. I'm just Disco. Everybody, it's Disco. How you doing, Disco? What's happening, Disco? It's kind of stuck. So I kind of feel like I need to go to court and go to depot and actually change my name to first name Disco and last name Dave to have it official on my mail when it comes through the door. But nah, I got told that wouldn't be a good idea.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, you mentioned you're going to be fighting soon. I believe it's the 31st of July, is it?
Can't wait. Saturday, 31st of July. BEC Arena in Manchester. Yeah, I'm training so hard. But you know what? Nothing's changed. I'm training exactly how I always train, which is hard. You know, the old saying is train hard or go home, but I'm already home because I'm in my garage next door. So, you know, I'm so looking forward to putting on a show and excelling for myself, you know, because my last fight, I'm not going to say disappointing, but I didn't get to show anything. You know, it was 30 seconds and I got my whole face broke. So I'm here to not only prove a point, but I'm also here to put a show on for Sean Amanda and UBKB. And, you know, like I say, the crowd are going to love it. The crowd are going to hate it. It's just the way it is. But either way, it's going to be entertaining. So, yeah.
You're fighting Jamie Power, I believe, at this present moment in time, who's part of the Manchester Fight Factory. Do you know anything about him?
I know nothing about him. The thing is right, I don't ever do any research on no one because as I've learned through the years of fighting, I can research one guy and then he'll come out to that fight completely bloody different. You know, I've done it myself. I've fought one guy a certain way and then I'm going to mix it up this time just so I'm not so, repeatable. So where Jamie Power's concerned, the first thing Stu said to me was, I've got a guy, Jamie Power, got some fight footage if you want to see it. I'm not interested. I said, don't send me no fight footage. Set that fight up. I want to fight. Let me know the weight, told me the weight, and I said, right, I'll concentrate on getting to that weight. You just make sure you get that fight set up. That fight is set, and we're good to go in 4 weeks' time. I don't know note about the kid. I'd no disrespect to him. I'm not interested in no note about him. I don't know where he trains, what he does. I'm not bothered because I'm there to do a job, and a job I will do. And he wants a fight. He will be in with a fight, 100%. Don't let the whole disco, LED, party rocking antics fool you. But hey, if you want to let that fool you, then, you know, let it fool you. But yeah, all respect to him. You know, I respect any man that's going to step in there with me, 100%. But my goal is to get through Jamie Power, and I want to fight the best. I want to fight the best on UBKB, and the best out there. The best out there is Luke Atkin. I believe Luke Atkin is one of the top dogs in UBKB, and not only is he one of the top dogs, he's also pretty much my weight as well. More comfortable weight for me. So that's my goal. You know, I don't know not about Luke or anything. I've seen him fight and I think he's an absolutely amazing fighter. If we're not in this game to test ourselves and push ourselves and want to fight the best, then what the hell are we even doing here for? I want to fight that man and hopefully some way or another, I hopefully get to fulfill that dream. 100%.
Great stuff. Yeah. Can I doubt your commitment? You've been committed all the way through, and certainly an entrance well worth seeing, worth the admission fee alone. But where can people buy tickets? Where can people find you? Where can people give you support?
So, unfortunately, I've been told by the promoters that the show is 100% sold out. The tickets that I had obviously my own personal link. I have 0 tickets left. I don't have any tickets left. As far as I'm aware, the only tickets that remain are from fighters that haven't been able to sell the tickets, and then the promoters are asking for them back. So as far as me being able to represent myself and want to say go on this link and buy my tickets and all that, they're all gone, unfortunately. And all the tickets that I had personally sent to me, VIPs, standing, all sold. Money's here, sold, gone, finito. So whoever's there is there. Whoever's not, unfortunately, you're going to miss out on a fucking epic show. So, you know, it's, yeah.
Great stuff. Well, Disco Dave, been an absolute pleasure, mate, to speak to you. Best of luck on the 31st of July and best of luck getting that fight that you want. And I look forward to seeing you at ringside one of these events, mate. Take care. Thanks very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for interviewing me. One of my first interviews I've ever had. So I'm buzzing about this. So, yeah, thank you very much. And, hey, hope you get to watch the fight. You won't be disappointed. And I can guarantee you'll know which one I am when I come out that curtain, because you'll be like, yeah, he said he will look like a Christmas tree. He definitely looks like a Christmas tree. So, I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much.
You take care and give Sebastian a kiss from us, mate. Take care.
I will do, mate. No problem. All right.
Bye-bye, mate.
Bye-bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past.